What's up, guys? We are going to do a review on the Batman The Long Halloween Parts 1 and 2. We watched both of them, and my name is Scott. Overall, I'm a huge Batman fan, so I enjoyed this a lot.
My name is Crystal. I'm also a huge Batman and DC fan, and I thoroughly enjoyed it also.
My name is Chuku. I love The Dark Knight, so I had to enjoy this, and I was really impressed.
Yeah, we all love Batman. My name is OC. We're going to just talk about how much we love Batman, I guess.
No. The way we're going to do this is we're going to talk about, 1, story and plot, 2, any grievances or things that we didn't like about both films, and then 3, our favorite moments. And I don't think we know what other people's opinions are about the movie, right?
Well, I saw some reviews, and I think last time I checked, it had like 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a lot of good user. Yeah. It's had a good user score too. So. Okay,
so maybe we won't do that section. We'll see. But number 1, story and plot. What do you guys think overall?
I think, let's start. It's a spoilers review, right? And let's start by saying, none of us have read The Long Halloween, the graphic novel version. But as a contained story, I thought it was great. I think it encompassed everything about, Batman noir that I like. And it's Batman's not an incredible detective.
That's another thing I like about
this. And he's just starting to become the world's greatest detective. He even says I didn't know Batman had to be a detective. Yeah. But this is the perfect story to see the inception of that, because it also introduces us to pretty much all of Gotham underworld crime, especially the Italian mob Gotham families, and even the Chinese triads, right? That's pretty cool.
It was so good. I think that the story was it was fantastic for a couple of reasons that you mentioned. The utilization of the mob in this Batman story, I loved it. It was so great because we haven't really gotten a lot of Batman with the mob except in the Gotham TV show.
Gotham.
and not a lot of people watch Gotham. And then also for a little bit in the first Dark Knight movie, we have the mob there. But here it was the whole thing. It wasn't about huge threats that Batman deals with sometimes, but it was the real detective work underground, dealing with the mob. And I love that about this movie.
It's good that you mentioned that it doesn't deal with the crazy rogues gallery. Mm-hmm. It does kind of they're in there, but they're not the focus of it, which is great because when I think of Gotham, a lot of times when you see Gotham stories, it's one or the other. It's either the rogues gallery, it's Arkham Asylum, or it's the mob, which is very rare. Mm-hmm. But this married the two concepts. I've never seen a story that pretty much gives us this view of Gotham, which I think is very accurate, and it kind of made me really interested in Batman stories and made me kind of love Gotham. I love stories about Gotham. I love seeing animation of Gotham. So I was into it.
One thing I really love about this movie is how everything is connected. Everything ties in together. Even Catwoman in this, I guess we're spoiling, right? We're gonna talk about spoilers, how she's tied in with the mob, and she was related to the father and whatnot, and then even Bruce, because he's Batman, he also has connections with the mob as well.
Falcone family.
So it's I love how everything is tied in, and then everything is deliberately, purposely done as well.
And then this is also an origin story for Two-Face as well.
Exactly.
At the same time.
Yeah. One other thing I want to bring up too is Bruce's parents, Thomas and Martha Wayne, especially Thomas Wayne, because I haven't seen any stories yet where we've seen them have flaws and have connections with the mob. I haven't seen Bruce have that kind of, I guess, inner conflict of am I doing this to redeem the sins of my father? I didn't know that was a thing, and seeing that was really interesting to me, and seeing the ties the Wayne Foundation had to Carmine Falcone.
He legitimized that family and helped them basically get boosted into power.
It made the whole Thomas and Martha Wayne it made them human to me. It kind of it showed that they had flaws. They were people that were kind of influenced by Gotham itself, because Gotham is like a pretty dark place, and that's part of Bruce Wayne's history, pretty much.
And I thought that scene where Falcone dies and like it's clear that he knows Bruce is Batman at that point.
Yeah.
And when he said those words, what was it again?
We only have what we take.
We only
Yeah.
We only get what we
Only
take.
take
Yeah.
what we take. That's great.
I was like, do you still believe that? I thought that was great. Great interaction.
It was so good. I think that this was a fantastic. I think this is like one of the Batman story that we need right now, because it's great seeing Batman with Superman and like fighting Darkseid and all of that stuff, but like I mean like the feeling that I got from watching the Gotham TV series. The highs in that show, I think that all of the highs from that show was kind of consolidated into this movie without any of the lows of the Gotham TV show. And so just that whole aspect of dealing with these people and the interconnectedness with the Falcone family and the Maroni family and the conflict there. Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, overall, the story was primarily a mystery, right?
Yeah.
Who is Holiday?
Who's Holiday?
And I thought they concluded the story pretty well overall. And then Batman was wrong like so many times.
Yeah, that's what I liked.
Yeah. It's this was definitely like an origin story, a kind of origin story for like the world's greatest detective.
Yeah.
Like figuring out like, hey, we need to he now has to figure out how to be a better detective, because the amount of times that Batman was wrong, it was interesting to see. Like, this is still an early Batman. This is still a young Batman. So
Did anybody had an idea who Holiday was? Because even I had no idea.
I did. When I saw the Oxford banner, I was like, oh, it's her. Like, I knew at that point, but that was in like the second film already, because I was already like, oh, who is
because you're assuming it's a man because it looks like a man.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
So that's
maybe
the
a little
main,
gripe, but
that's
like,
the main reason.
but
it could have been a little bit more
when he
ambiguous.
asked, like, did he go to Oxford? I was like, well, if he didn't go to Oxford and that's in that house and only one other person lives there, like, come on now, like, let's get to it. I don't know, but yeah, it had a lot of good elements. Like, it wasn't just like film noir, like it was like kind of, it had like thriller elements. It's like a revenge story,
exactly.
and again, this is another one of those where like every character kind of had like a moment to shine too, and I think the voice acting was really good too. Josh Duhamel like really surprised me as Harvey Dent, and then later Two-Face with like his like crazy gravelly voice. I thought it was good. I liked it.
It's perfect. It's perfect. And I feel like what's also beautiful about this movie is it's two parts. So it felt like it needed that long, cinematic experience.
I felt bad for Calendar Man.
Yeah.
Just wanted to see him outside do something.
At one point, I thought Calendar Man was the person, but then I was like, no way. There's no way that he could have come out and then come in. But it makes sense.
I feel like in a good story, you always have to set up the person who's the villain, right?
Yeah.
And if it's a mystery, it's hard to do that sometimes. Usually, it has to be someone you're following.
Yeah.
So, like, who could it be? So it was a good, satisfying conclusion that it was actually her.
Yeah. She had the right motivations,
Exactly.
to be
It all made
honest. Like, that
sense.
was,
because
I knew they messed her up, like when Alberto Falcone was talking on the boat with Catwoman, basically, saying like, they did some unspeakable stuff to her, and I was like, that sounds like grounds for revenge maybe. But it tied together so perfectly at the end. It was just like a good conclusion with like a little bow on it, and that's what made it good.
Here's a grievance that I have. We can move on to that section. I really don't like that Batman got knocked out by that like super small dude. Like what's his name again?
Mad Hatter.
Was that Mad Hatter?
He
looks so ridiculous.
Oh man.
Yeah, he got knocked out a lot though. Let's be honest. He was getting
true.
his ass kicked.
But at the bank, oh my god, I was like, come on, Batman. Like, I'm sure you would have known that someone else was in that bank, like, and not get knocked out by some.
Like even when he was going after Holiday and Harvey Dent stopped him, I'm like, Harvey Dent stopped you? Like, what? Okay.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't know. The Rogues were pretty well like powered in this one, because like they're really ridiculous. Like thinking about these guys, but like showing that they're like formidable foes is pretty cool, even though they're kind of like getting second billing to like the mob. Like they're pretty badass, like all of them.
I thought the Mad Hatter looked stupid.
Maybe not the Mad Hatter, but you still knocked out Batman, so...
That doesn't give him anything. That just makes Batman look bad.
It does. I think it's the excuse is that this is still an early Batman.
Yeah, so
he's still like, even though it's Batman, he's not necessarily
I don't know. In my heart, it's always like so hard to see Batman look incompetent, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about how Damian Wayne exists, because he got drugged by what's her face, Talia al Ghul, and then they had a kid. So there's always things where Batman
canon
being.
in this
I mean, that's
story?
It's not canon in this story, but I'm point is Batman being incompetent is something.
I mean,
It
that's
is-
okay. That's different, you know. That's like
was
him
seduced.
placing trust in the wrong
Yeah,
person.
but I don't know. You would think this guy would be that incompetent to get drugged like that.
I mean,
and accidentally have a kid.
seduced again in this.
that's true.
Poison Ivy.
Hey, this was a strong Poison Ivy. Like
Yeah.
she was
It's a
like
different
one of the strongest Poison Ivies I've seen.
Okay, this is
in
okay. This is
stories.
not Batman getting seduced. This is him either getting drugged by Talia, or Poison Ivy using her powers. That's completely different.
I mean,
I
the
get
fact that
what-
she got close enough to him to use her powers.
The man's at the cemetery. He's supposed to keep his guard up at all times.
Yeah, that's
Like,
what I'm
let him-
saying.
Let him
Yeah,
live.
at some point, you know.
But no, I get what you're saying, Scott, because we're used to like, the Justice League cartoon where he's like the most competent against
Yes,
like
exactly.
cosmic foes.
Yeah.
Where in this one, this is not that story though. Like this
Yeah.
is a Gotham story. This is a Gotham crime mob story.
Yeah.
And I guess he just kind of needed to be that Batman for this story to work. Because
Yeah, that's fair.
He's
That's fair.
he is kind of OP most of the time.
Exactly.
He is.
So,
He's OP most of the
we
time,
Need, we
so.
need that.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't have a problem with that. My main grievance was just Mad Hatter knocking him out. That's it. That's how this conversation started.
That one moment.
Yeah.
I just
Fair
just
enough.
like didn't like that at all.
Fair enough.
And then another grievance, I mean, that I mentioned earlier, that Calendar Man didn't get out.
We need Calendar Man out there.
Name calendar.
Yeah, man.
He just seemed so cocky. I wanted to see what he would have done, you know?
I think a small little grievance, but it's a small little grievance. They did overplay that joke where everyone disappears when someone's talking. Like I kind of at one point, the first part I laughed at it, but the second part it just became like, okay, we're doing this joke again, where it's like,
Yeah, we already saw this in every other Batman story.
they're like, oh, seriously, you just couldn't say hi, whatever.
Yeah, I think the comedy was kind of corny in the first one, and then when it started getting serious, I was like, okay, like,
Yeah.
none of that anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that's it for me. Like I think I enjoyed it a lot.
What do you guys think about Batman's decision to leave Holiday alone?
Yeah, that one was interesting. I was like, okay, she clearly killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you seem to have a connection. Well, Batman seems to have a connection with Falcone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe it's not like super like he was my friend type of thing, but more like obviously he cares about him somewhat.
Yeah.
So I just question why Batman would let her get away with that, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
She went unpunished.
It seems like she went unpunished. So I don't know. Maybe it was because he also like Harvey was his friend, and Harvey was willing to protect Holiday at all
Yeah, and
costs.
Harvey was pretty messed up. And she was basically like, what happened to her in the film was pretty bad.
Yeah.
So maybe he thought the revenge was like justified, even though she killed like a bunch of like uninvolved parties. But yeah, maybe that is like a bit of a plot hole. Even I, like when I saw that, I was like, he's letting her go.
Yeah.
But then I was willing to like kind of push it aside because it was a
So
good
that might
story.
be like a half grievance, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then again, we said it's like a young
Newer
Batman
yeah,
too.
So
And I don't really know what happens in the original story, so
yeah.
I'm not really,
Well,
100%
I mean,
on
she
that
asked, "Are you gonna tell Jim?" And he didn't respond, so maybe he's just gonna tell Jim Gordon.
Yeah, who knows? You know, it's like secretly he might say that. But I guess if we want, could we go to like favorite moments?
Sure,
If there's
sure.
anything.
Yeah.
I guess favorite all was just the voice acting. I love the voice cast. I think Jensen Ackles did a good job as Batman. He definitely is influenced by Kevin Conroy. That's his
Conroy,
name?
yeah.
Conroy, yeah. I get to see that. Same with the person who did Troy Baker. I thought that was Mark Hamill for a second for Joker.
I was gonna say.
Troy Baker's been doing the voice of Joker for like the video games.
Okay, that
So
makes sense.
yeah, he's been like he's had years of time to.
Oh,
to
so
get
he's
it
perfected it because he
Yeah.
sounds like Hamill Joker.
Yeah, I was
which
scary.
is great. I was like, is that Mark Hamill?
And then
I looked it up, but no, he's great.
He's the Joker from the Arkham games.
Well, he's a great game voice actor, so
Okay.
I'm sure it translates very well to.
It does.
Definitely good. And then Naivara Riva for Catwoman.
Naira.
Yeah, I wouldn't notice that until then.
R.I.P. Great last credit for her because she was really good, like very convincing Selena Kyle.
Yeah, I also like the dynamic between Bruce and Catwoman. In this
Yeah, it
one
was
as
like
well.
pretty realistic and kind of like deep. I was like, dang, like it's just two people kind of like in different worlds that were trying to make it work, and then they like couldn't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Although they made it work, and I guess at the ending they kind of made it work.
Yeah,
in there.
when she helped him not die a bunch of times.
Exactly. But I love how they both knew each other's identity, kind of thing. So it was like they both knew who they are, kind of.
She was a little loose with it though, and she like blurted it out in front of all.
Is that a grievance? Bruce in full Batman costume.
Well, even
and Alberto was like, Bruce Wayne? I only know one Bruce.
Yeah, exactly.
That was a pretty funny part.
True.
I was like, why would she do that? She was like,
Yeah, exactly. That's true. She
And
did say that
so
loud.
at that point, I'm like, I feel like he's gonna.
Yeah, I was like,
die
he's
now.
not, there's no way.
Like, there's no
They're
way.
gonna let him
They're just
breathe.
gonna let Alberto.
That's why at first I thought this guy must be Holiday, because it's like if they just said it out there, but then he got killed. So,
no, he got a great brutal death, and I feel like the only reason he died that awful is because he tried to kiss Selena.
Oh yeah.
Because remember,
That's
he has a
true.
history with Holiday. It's his ex-girl, and she shot him.
That was an interesting moment. I'm like, why would you make this decision to try to kiss Selena in this moment?
Yeah,
I'm like,
that was kind of
I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't get why he tried to kiss
that's
him.
why
weird
he was
vibe.
shot. So
Yeah.
he deserved it. Yeah, there's a lot of good parts throughout. I think the action was really good.
Oh, yes.
I think the whole last act was great. I think when the rogues finally kind of got their revenge on Falcone, that was really cool because they were all working together. I was like, dang, it's like the League of Villains, you know? Like, this is kind of crazy.
Yeah, so we all really seem to have enjoyed this movie. I don't know if we want to give ratings, but for me, I would probably put this definitely above 9. Like maybe, between 9 and 9.5.
I still like Batman Under the Red Hood and like Flashpoint better personally.
Classics, yeah.
But I think those are like the best DC animated movies.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
Talking about top tier animated movies there.
I think it's just because this is such a different Batman story from the ones that we typically get. And it did a great job of like expanding the character of Batman. Interestingly, like, and we know about this aspect of Batman, but it's just that like not a lot of people get to see this aspect of Batman.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed it for that reason alone. I think Batman it becomes really special when Batman is kind of contained to this mystery detective mob world.
Yeah.
So
Because you forget he's only human, like, and this one definitely reminds you.
Yeah.
right.
So you said 9 out of 10?
Like 9 to 9.5 between the.
Yeah, I definitely give it a 9. It's definitely top there with all of the DC, for me, for the DC animated films for sure. So
Yeah, for me, it revived my interest in DC animated films because the last big one that was kind of like making waves was like The Killing Joke, and like I actually didn't even watch that one because a lot of people were like saying it's not that good, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna waste my time on that one because I already don't like the story of
you
The
guys
Killing
watch-
Joke.
Like the
I
story.
thought it was alright. I enjoyed it for the most part.
I liked it. I like the
watch
story
it.
of the Killing
Oh,
Joke.
But
okay, dang.
this one, I was like, I have to watch it because I know that the Matt Reeves Batman project is
Connected.
going to be tied
Okay.
to the Long Halloween.
Yeah.
And this piqued my excitement for it, and now I'm like all fired up for like a lot of DC projects again with everything going on.
Yeah.
I think a 9 is fair. I'll
It's
stick
interesting.
with you guys.
We'll see.
again.
I think the Salvatore or the Carmine Falcone character might be replaced by Penguin. So
but
we'll
it's a
see.
great looking penguin.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I mean, I like this series of movies overall, but I think for me, like, I like a lot of the other animated DC films too, and I feel like I like them more. So I'm gonna give this one an 8.5 instead.
Okay.
So I guess it averages out to be like a 9.
Okay.
Fair enough.
So group rating for 9.
This makes me want to rewatch the classics.
Yeah, definitely.
Under the Red Hood and Flashpoint also.
Yeah, I love those movies so much. Okay.
Peace.
Peace.
You just named like the top 2 pretty much all of them. So it's like, how can yeah, you're right. You make a point.
Let us know what you guys thought about the movie, and don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll catch you guys in the next one.